One of the most telling signs a woman likes you, yet tries not to show it, lies in something so subtle most men overlook it: her eyes. Not necessarily the way she looks at you, but more intriguingly, how she avoids looking at you directly. This isn't about disinterest. In fact, it's the complete opposite. Because when a woman genuinely feels something for you, but isn't ready to admit it, her gaze becomes a battlefield between desire and control. She wants to connect, but she's guarding herself, and the eyes, being the most honest part of the human face, often betray that internal struggle. She may appear composed, even aloof, but the moment you catch her stealing glances when she thinks you're not looking, you're seeing something real. That fleeting look, quick, careful, but repeated, isn't random. It's calculated. She wants to see you, take you in, observe you, but without being seen doing it. Because to be caught staring would mean being exposed, and exposure, to a woman who is trying to stay emotionally guarded, feels risky. Too risky. Why? Because in her mind, liking you openly makes her vulnerable. It hands over emotional power. And if she's been hurt before, or simply lives in a world that teaches women to protect their emotions until it's safe, she won't want to be the first to show her cards. So she watches from a distance, sometimes literally. Think about moments in group settings where your attention shifts to someone else, and you feel her eyes on you for a second, longer than necessary. Or maybe you walk past her and she suddenly becomes busy with her phone, but just before that, she subtly tracked your movement across the room. These aren't accidents, they're veiled expressions of interest, her way of keeping you in her awareness without giving you, and possibly others, proof of her feelings. This behavior also speaks to something deeper, a woman's need to feel emotionally safe before she reveals herself fully. For many women, emotional expression is tethered to security, not physical security, but psychological assurance, an inner sense that she won't be judged, played, or dismissed. And until that assurance is present, she'll remain guarded. Her eyes might long for connection, but her willpower keeps them from lingering too long. As a man, your role isn't to force eye contact or demand openness. It's to notice, to observe with calm presence. To respond with energy that says, "I see you, and I'm not in a rush, you're safe here." That kind of emotional steadiness speaks volumes. It doesn't chase, it attracts, and when a woman feels that from you, when she senses that your masculinity doesn't threaten her vulnerability, but rather protects it, her gaze will no longer flinch. She'll look at you with the softness she's been holding back. Asterisk, asterisk. So if you catch her not looking at you, asterisk, too often, asterisk, don't dismiss it. Pay attention to the silence between the stares, because sometimes what's not said and not shown is where the truth is hiding. And the man who can read that silence becomes the man she finally dares to look at without fear. Asterisk, asterisk, one of the most misunderstood behaviors from a woman who secretly likes you is nervousness. Now, to the untrained eye, it might look like she's disinterested, even awkward or disengaged. But that subtle tension in her voice, the way she adjusts her clothes a little too often, or how she carefully chooses her words, it's not random. It's her internal emotional system working overtime to hide what she's actually feeling. When a woman likes you and doesn't want it to show, nervousness becomes her emotional mask. See, people often assume confidence is the most attractive energy, but when emotions run deep, confidence doesn't always take the lead. Asterisk, self-protection asterisk does. She might stumble over a sentence, laugh a little louder than usual, or suddenly become hyper, aware of her surroundings. That's not clumsiness, it's an emotional defense, because the more she feels for you, the more risk she senses in being her unfiltered self. In her mind, expressing too much could lead to rejection, and rejection doesn't just hurt, It confirms every fear she's been taught to carry. That may be she's too much or not enough. That may be if she's too open, she'll lose her value, so she overcompensates. She'll try to keep the interaction casual. She'll monitor her behavior, tone, and even her physical posture, not because she doesn't care, but because she cares too much. This nervous energy is rarely loud. It's in the micro movements, the half-second hesitation before she responds, the shift in tone when you compliment her, the way she suddenly seems very aware of her hands. She's not trying to be cold, she's trying to control the heat she feels. And the irony is, the more she tries to stay composed, the more visible her emotions become to someone who knows how to see them. What's important here is your perception. Most men take nervousness as a sign to pull back. But emotionally intelligent men understand that what looks like discomfort can actually be the tension between desire and restraint. They don't misread it. They lean into it with presence, calm, grounded, reassuring presence. You don't need to call out her nervousness. That would only amplify her sense of exposure. Instead, you let her relax into your energy. You slow down the pace. You create space for her to breathe. You let silence do some of the work, and you match her hesitance with acceptance, not pressure. Because a woman who's trying not to show she likes you is already doing emotional gymnastics inside. The last thing she needs is a performance in return. She needs permission, silent, steady permission, to feel without judgment. And when she gets that from you, the tension begins to dissolve. Slowly but surely, she starts to reveal herself, not because you pried it out of her, but because you made it safe to come forward. So the next time you sense nervousness in a woman's presence, don't pull away, stay present, because beneath that nervous energy there's a signal. She's saying without words, I like you, but I'm afraid to be seen. And the man who responds with patience becomes the man she finally stops hiding from. There's something incredibly revealing about the way a woman asks questions, not the obvious ones, the surface level, polite, or situational inquiries, but the ones that sneak through when she's trying not to show she cares. A woman who secretly likes you will often mask her curiosity in casualness. She wants to know about your life, your values, your past, your passions, but she'll wrap it in small talk, as if it's no big deal. It's not what she asks. It's why and how she asks it that tells you everything. She'll ask about your weekend, but what she's really listening for is whether you spent time with another woman. She might inquire about your goals or what drives you, but underneath that question is a desire to know if you're a man of vision, a man she could imagine herself beside. You'll notice that when you talk about something meaningful, something real, her attention sharpens. She listens a little more intently. Her responses slow down. She lingers on the topic, but still tries to make it seem effortless. That's the push-pull of hidden attraction. She wants to connect, but she doesn't want to expose that longing. So she uses curiosity as a tool, not to manipulate, but to manage risk, because showing too much interest too soon can feel like a loss of power. In a world where women are often judged for being too eager, many learn to keep their cards close. And so, instead of asking, do you have feelings for someone right now, she'll ask, you seem really focused these days, seeing anyone new, see how it's dressed down, but still personal. This kind of emotional camouflaging is common in women who value emotional intelligence. They want to know your depth, but they need to feel safe doing it. That's where you come in. If you meet her subtle curiosity with openness without overreacting or becoming overly performative, you signal that it's okay for her to engage more fully. You build trust through emotional steadiness, and here's the deeper truth. When a woman invests her energy in learning about you, it means you've stirred something in her. Curiosity is always the first form of emotional investment. She doesn't ask just to pass time. She asks because you've caught her attention. And no matter how softly she masks it, the desire to understand you better always comes from a deeper place. So the next time a woman asks about your childhood, your favorite books, or why you do what you do, listen carefully. Don't just hear the words, feel the intention behind them, because she might be trying to hold back, to play it cool, to keep things neutral, but her curiosity keeps slipping through the cracks. Asterisk, asterisk, and the man who recognizes that quiet interest, who doesn't rush it or interrogate it, becomes the man who turns her silent wonder into open affection. Sometimes it's not about the questions she asks, it's about what she's hoping you'll reveal when you answer. Asterisk, asterisk. One of the most overlooked signs that a woman likes you, but is trying not to show it, is the way she mirrors your behavior. At first glance, this might seem like coincidence. You lean back, she does the same. You use a certain phrase, and she repeats it later. You text a certain way, short bursts, emojis, even voice note. And over time, her tone starts to match yours. Most people miss this, but if you pay close attention, mirroring is a subtle and deeply unconscious way of building connection, of saying, I feel safe with you, I resonate with you. Now here's the interesting part. Mirroring is rarely deliberate. It happens when someone is emotionally attuned to you. When a woman feels drawn to your energy, she instinctively begins to adapt to your rhythm. Psychologists call this limbic synchrony, when two people begin to reflect each other's body language, tone, and even emotional state. It's not manipulation, it's not game playing, it's alignment. But when she's trying not to reveal her feelings, this mirroring becomes even more subtle, almost cautious. It may show up in her timing. You send a message in the morning, and even though she tries to delay her response to seem detached, she always replies in a similar tone or format. Or maybe she resists double texting, but she'll find another way to keep the thread going, sharing a meme, reacting to a message, anything to keep you engaged without seeming too eager. It also shows in in-person interactions. You might notice that she adjusts her tone depending on yours. When you're serious, she becomes more introspective. When you're playful, she laughs more freely. But what makes this powerful isn't just that she's mirroring you. It's asterisk why asterisk she's doing it. Because connection for her matters. And when a woman is trying to manage her feelings while still maintaining emotional dignity, mirroring becomes a silent way to bond without verbalizing desire. The key is to see this without exploiting it. A woman who mirrors you is testing emotional resonance. She's asking on a subconscious level, do we fit? And when you show up consistently, when your energy remains grounded, your presence remains steady, you validate that sense of safety. That's when mirroring becomes mutual. It's no longer her adapting to you. It becomes both of you moving in harmony. This is where intimacy begins, not in the grand declarations or bold moves, but in the quiet alignment of energy, timing, and rhythm. And the moment you become aware of this, everything changes. You stop trying to decode words and start listening to energy. You become fluent in the unspoken language most men never learn to read. Asterisk, asterisk, so when you see her reflect your style, your tone, or your emotional tempo, don't brush it off. See it for what it is, a silent bridge being built between two emotional landscapes. And the man who walks across that bridge with quiet strength becomes the man she no longer needs to hide her feelings from. Asterisk, asterisk, another unmistakable, yet often misread, sign that a woman likes you, but is trying not to show it, is the way she remembers the smallest details about you, not just your birthday or where you work. I'm talking about the things you barely remember saying, the kind of ice cream you mentioned offhand, the artist you used to listen to in college, the story you told once about your childhood dog. When a woman is emotionally invested but hiding it, her memory becomes a vault for the things that matter asterisk only asterisk to her because asterisk you asterisk said them. Now, why does this happen? Because emotional attachment sharpens awareness. When a woman is interested in you, her attention filters out the noise and locks onto what's meaningful. Your preferences, habits, routines, even your moods. But here's the catch. She's doing all this while trying not to make it obvious. So instead of blurting out, "I've been thinking about what you said last week," she'll casually reference it in a joke or in passing, almost like she's not even sure she remembers it herself. But she does, and more than that, she cares enough to hold on to it. There's a psychological reason behind this. When we feel emotionally connected, our brain shifts how it processes information. It's no longer just data. It becomes emotionally coded. That's why what you say lingers with her, not because you were particularly profound, but because asterisk you asterisk said it. And this level of attentiveness, when done subtly, is a form of affection without confession. She might bring up something you forgot you even shared. Weren't you supposed to have that meeting today? Or did you end up buying that book you mentioned? And it'll feel like a throwaway question. But behind that question is a truth. She's been paying attention. Quietly, carefully, lovingly, this kind of emotional investment speaks volumes, especially in a world where most people don't even remember what you said 5 minutes ago. When a woman holds on to your words, she's holding space for you in her inner world, even if she hasn't told you how she feels. Even if she's actively trying to suppress it, but here's where most men fumble, they overlook it. They treat her thoughtfulness like coincidence, or worse, take it for granted. And when you dismiss the little things she remembers, you risk pushing her further into emotional retreat. She won't stop caring, but she'll stop revealing that she does. What you want to do instead is notice it. Match her attentiveness. Let her know subtly that you see her too, because when emotional effort is met with emotional presence, it creates a space where vulnerability can finally breathe. Asterisk asterisk, so the next time she recalls a detail no one else would care about, don't just smile, feel it, because in that moment she's showing you that you matter, even if she can't yet say it. And the man who respects what a woman remembers becomes the man she'll never forget. Asterisk asterisk, there's a subtle, deeply telling behavior that surfaces when a woman likes you but isn't quite ready or able to admit it. She gets nervous around you, and I don't mean shy in the traditional sense. I'm talking about a certain emotional unease that shows up in her energy, her rhythm, and her presence. She may fidget with her hair, adjust her clothes, glance around the room more than necessary, or laugh at things that aren't all that funny. But what's really happening beneath the surface is a quiet war between desire and restraint. When a woman is trying not to show her feelings, nervousness becomes the body's way of expressing what the heart is trying to hide. It's involuntary, and often even she doesn't realize she's doing it. Her emotions are surging beneath the surface. There's attraction, curiosity, maybe even hope, but the fear of vulnerability, rejection, or appearing too eager forces her into self-censorship. The result: anxious energy, hesitation, overthinking every move, every message, every look. This emotional tension creates an unmistakable pattern. She might overprepare for casual encounters with you, agonizing over what to wear or how she comes across. She might overanalyze her own texts after she sent them, wondering if she sounded too available, too distant, or too obvious. And often she oscillates between pulling close and pulling back, not because she's playing games, but because she's caught in that uncomfortable space between wanting connection and fearing its consequences. But here's the psychological insight many men miss. Nervousness is not a weakness. It's not disinterest. In fact, it often signals investment. People don't get nervous around those they don't care about. Nervousness is a physiological sign that someone matters to us, that their opinion matters, that the potential for something meaningful exists, and with that potential comes risk. Risk of heartbreak, risk of misunderstanding, risk of being seen too clearly. The woman who seems most composed may not be the one most interested. Sometimes the one who stumbles over her words, who avoids prolonged eye contact, who hesitates before responding is the one who feels the deepest. She just hasn't found a safe enough space to unfold. As a man, your role in these moments isn't to test her or wait for her to prove her affection. It's to create the kind of emotional environment where her nervousness can dissolve, where presence replaces performance. When she senses that you are grounded, patient, and not rushing her into clarity, she begins to relax. And when she relaxes, her affection stops hiding. So if she seems a little uneasy, don't rush to interpret it as indifference. Often, nervous energy is simply love dressed in armor, and the man who can see through that armor gently, without force, becomes the one she feels safe enough to finally reveal her heart to.